Let's go! Arsenal are actually going to win the league this year. We're so good. We're the best team in the league, bar none. It's not even close. City have stumbled, and we have seized on this opportunity. And Mikel Arteta is leading this team to the Premier League title and potentially so much more. There is so much good energy floating around this team right now. That North London derby was spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. I loved seeing Conte and Spurs eat. They deserve it. We are so much better than them, and this is such a good time to be an Arsenal supporter right now. I'm absolutely ecstatic. I'm thrilled. Words cannot even begin to describe how I feel about this club right now. Whew. There's been a lot of news, a lot of media circulating around Arsenal for the past 24, 48 hours, hell, for the past 6 months. There has been a lot of focus on us, and we have deserved this attention. Of course, there was the Mykhailo Mudryk fallout, where Chelsea then pipped us to Mykhailo Mudryk for a fee banded about at 100 million, 70 million plus 30 million in add-ons, as well as an 8.5-year contract. Now, I don't want to talk about the Mudryk transfer right now. What I'll say is I think it's a blessing in disguise. If Chelsea want to pay that much, go ahead, be my guest. I thought the fees that were being reported were an overpay, but this North London derby victory, it is the perfect response to that drama, to all of this saga. The North London derby, for these boys to come out and put on a performance like that. Well, I'm going to be honest, I don't think anybody really put a foot too terribly wrong. I know Nketiah didn't have his best display. I know Martinelli didn't have his best display. But it wasn't like they were bad on the day. They were still good. Out of possession, Nketiah was an absolute monster in his pressing. And that is an aspect of his game that I think is incredibly underrated. I really think he's one of the best pressing center forwards in world football today. So many aspects of this Arsenal team to be so proud of. This was our first match in the Premier League since the unveiling of our new decorations around the Emirates Stadium, which, by the way, I think are absolutely fantastic. My home Arsenal supporters club, Arsenal Los Angeles, is up there, is on that mural, so I love to see it, and I'm so proud. I am so proud to be a Gooner right now. I can't even. There is just like so much good energy floating around. I mean, the Thomas Partey strike. Let's start things off. Let's start talking about the match, and I want to start things off with that Thomas Partey strike that hit the bar around the 30th minute. It came off his shin, actually. I think it was an absolute rocket from outside the box, and it completely mirrored his goal that he scored in the reverse fixture when we played Tottenham at the Emirates. And Arsenal in general are extremely unlucky for that to have not gone in. I was mind blown, and you just knew, you could feel it. There was so much dominance coming out of this Arsenal team. Spurs couldn't do anything. Harry Kane is legitimately one of the best center forwards in world football, legitimately one of the best players in world football. He is a world-class player. Spurs have not been good this year. That hasn't slowed Harry Kane down at all. Gabriel and Saliba had him completely handled. Thomas Partey helped out with that a little bit, but he was handled. He didn't do anything. He had an extremely quiet night. He and Heung-min Son both love to turn up in the North London derby, and both were shut down. The defensive display is absolutely impressive from this Arsenal team. It opens up the world for us to move forward. It opens up so much knowing that we have a rock solid back line. When we have that foundation of an elite defense, of a world-class level defense. Aaron Ramsdale, I think, by the way, was brilliant. He's going to get my man of the match, but we'll go more into more details with him and the individuals of the squad later. When we have that rock-solid defense, that foundation that Mikel Arteta has been building since he came in, he identified that as a weak point in this Arsenal squad when he was first appointed. Went out and he signed Pablo Mari and Cedric Suarez. Those were his first two signings as an Arsenal manager, and they were Arteta signings. He identified the defense as a weak point, and he has built the identity of this team around that defense. He has built that foundation. In the summer, the next summer, after Mikel Arteta was in charge for 6 months, we went out and we signed Gabriel. We also brought in David Luiz, who, although he's not the best player, I think was ultimately an important player for us. Was an important defender for us for the time that he was here, the 2 years that he was here. Mikel Arteta also went out and got Ben White. He also went out and got Takehiro Tomiyasu, and now Alexander Zinchenko. And I think we have the best defensive unit in the league this year. I know Diaz and Stones and Laporte are very good center halves, but Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White, Rob Holding, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Alexander Zinchenko, Kieran Tierney, they are all either borderline world class or that step below world class where they're elite. Like they are in that category. I think Saliba, Ben White, and Alexander Zinchenko are our borderline world class players. Zinchenko will be world class if he had a better fitness record, and he is world class when he plays for us. Saliba, I think, is making that step up to world class right now, as is Ben White, who is world class in 2 positions now. So there is so much to love about this team. There is so much to love, and it starts with the foundation of this back line and how much work and effort has gone in to making them as good as they are. They're excellent moving forward at building out from the back while also cutting out attacks before they get into dangerous areas. And then you add in how good we are at stopping shots. Aaron Ramsdale is a good shot stopper. He's a bit reflexive, a bit acrobatic, a bit dramatic of a keeper, but it works for him. It's his style and it works. And he was my man of the match today. This moves us nicely into the topic of Aaron Ramsdale, who I'm sure a lot of you have seen by now. The kick. He was kicked right after the full-time whistle by a Tottenham Hotspur fan who came in to the pitch, invaded the pitch, and jumped over the line. The steward wasn't able to stop him in time and kicked Aaron Ramsdale in the back. And the FA has already put out statements that they're investigating the situation, and it's likely that this supporter gets a full-time ban, which is deserved. This is just unacceptable from any supporter, whether it's Tottenham, Arsenal, United, Queen's Park Rangers. It doesn't matter. This type of behavior is completely unacceptable. There is no room for violence in football, and this is a worrying sign that I think we need to look at as fans of the Premier League, because you see violence being had at Goodison Park under Everton, and their violence towards the board and the decision makers over there. And now they've got, of course, reason to be angry, but it is still unacceptable to put hands on someone else in that manner, or feet in this instance. And I think Ramsdale reacted quite calmly, under control about it. It riled up Granit Xhaka, of course, and Mikel Arteta had to jump in and stop Xhaka from getting himself in trouble, from escalating the situation after the full-time whistle. And that's okay. I love to see that fight, that spirit from Granit Xhaka. He's protecting these boys. He is a leader. He is a captain by de facto. So I'm happy to see him standing up for our team, but I'm also very grateful that Mikel Arteta stopped him in time. I'm sure that the FA will handle this appropriately. I really do have trust that they kind of handle pitch invaders and things like this really well, as messed up as they are in other areas. And Antonio Conte even mentioned after the match that there was no room for anything like that. And so, if Antonio Conte is saying not to do something overreactive like that you have crossed the line. So hopefully this supporter is banned from football for life, because there's just no room for that. There's no room for that whatsoever. And I have seen the response from the Tottenham pundits, Tottenham supporters that I've seen. It's all condemnation of that sort of behavior. So hopefully the situation is resolved peacefully and we can move forward, all of us, better as supporters for it. We need to talk about how good Martin Odegaard has been and how he is getting better and better and better in an Arsenal kit. He's up at 7 goals and 5 assists now on the campaign, which puts him top scorer for Arsenal, and he's just getting better every single week that he plays for us. It was a captain's performance from him. He comes in and he grabs the game by the scruff of the neck, and he gets a well-taken goal. And it wasn't just the goal that was really well. He played well throughout. He pressed with intensity. He offered an outlet during the build-up. He found our dangerous players in Saka in order to set up the first goal. He's fantastic. And let's look at the day and age that we live in when it comes to transfer business, right? So Mykhailo Mudryk is a player who has 6 appearances in the Champions League and 9 goals in Ukraine. In 3 seasons, he has 9 goals in the Ukrainian Premier League. And he just went for 100 million. We got Martin Odegaard for 30 million or 32 million, I believe. What absolutely fantastic business that is. Absolutely fantastic business. And that goes to show why we don't need to shell out 100 million for these sorts of players when we can get gems, when we make smart buys, when we identify our player and make smart decisions. And I'm just absolutely in love with Martin Odegaard. He is a brilliant addition to our team, and he has taken us, not single-handedly, because the entire squad has stepped up as well as him, but he is the sort of player that has taken us to the next level. And he's honestly been the best attacking midfielder in the Premier League this season. He's been better than De Bruyne. He's been better than Eriksen. He has been so outstanding, and he is making that step to world class for himself as well. In terms of the actual game state of this match, in terms of how things actually went, we were absolutely dominant in the first half. All around, we were dominant in the first half. There was nothing that Tottenham could do. We peppered their goal. Eddie Nketiah almost had a goal himself. We did, of course, get the own goal from Hugo Lloris, which was just poor keeping. That guy's past it. He is so done. I thought he was fine in the World Cup, but he's done. He's cooked as a keeper at the top level. He's probably burnt out as a keeper and just doesn't have the same sort of passion, commitment, energy that he used to for football, club, or country, I would guess, after the emotional turmoil of the World Cup that France went through. So he's completely past it, I think. Tottenham need a new keeper, but this isn't a Tottenham podcast, so who cares? It was a ball that was hit hard and well by Bukayo Saka, who created that goal, and then it just went through his hands. I think it's like a minor deflection, but you still should be stopping that. And Tim Howard, during the coverage blackout, because coverage dropped at the match, apparently there was a signal issue in the stadium that caused the coverage to drop. So Tim Howard made a comment on it during that time about how it was just poor keeping. And he is the sort of person, he's the sort of pundit who always defends the keeper. So you know that Hugo Lloris made a major mistake with that one. Eddie Nketiah was waiting to poach it. He was able to head it into the back of the net after the ball had already crossed the line, but it goes down as an own goal. A few moments later, Thomas Partey had that shot off of his shin, that volley that hit the post. He was unlucky not to score the second. And then a few moments later, Martin Odegaard did convert the second with a long-range effort that, again, Hugo Lloris probably should have done a lot better on, but he's just past it. He's not at his best anymore, and it was a great goal from Odegaard. A hard-taken, well-placed shot on the floor of the pitch that just sneaks into that bottom right-hand corner, and that sealed the game for Arsenal. There were a few nervy moments coming out of that second half. Spurs just came out with more energy. They looked more of like the quality that we know that they have. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. We were too good. We stopped them. We shut them out throughout the break. Ramsdale, I think in particular, really stepped up during these moments of Spurs energetic when Tottenham had the momentum. Aaron Ramsdale and the defense stepped up, and they weren't able to accomplish anything. And the rest of the half was kind of just, it had already been confirmed kind of in the players' minds. Arsenal knew they were winning. We knew we just had to stay tight, composed, intense, keep that intensity up, and keep as our best selves. Whereas Tottenham, they knew that they weren't going to come back. They had given up. They rolled over and they showed their bellies and they just gave up, and you just love to see it. Just absolutely love to see it. I want to keep this video short because I don't want to get too... I could go on and on about how great we were. 4 hours. I mean, I'm seriously so excited. We all are. But there are other things to talk about, so I want to get into the individual player ratings. So Aaron Ramsdale gets my man of the match. He gets an 8.5 For me, Gabriel and Saliba are both going to get 8s. They did an excellent job of shutting down Harry Kane. Ben White is going to get a 7, and Alexander Zinchenko is also going to get a 7.5. He stepped into midfield really well and helped us add that extra control. We know that if we are playing one of the big sides, we are going to play Alexander Zinchenko if he is healthy. He is excellent stepping into that midfield and adding that extra control, adding that extra man in the center of the park. He played really well and was a big part of why we were so dominant. I'm going to give Granit Xhaka a 7. Thomas Partey is going to get a 7.5. I think he was very defensive and offered a lot moving forward as well. Martin Odegaard is going to get an 8 from me. Well taken goal. Bukayo Saka gets a 7. Eddie Nketiah, I'm going to give him a 6.5. And Martinelli, I'm giving a 6.5. Mikel Arteta, I'm going to give him a 7.5. I thought he was fantastic and he did everything he needed to. Subs came at the right time. Tactics were set up really, really well. We didn't have any much of an adjustment to make in starting that second half. And so we just kept the intensity up. And I think where Arteta really had his best moment was in handling Xhaka and handling the press after the match, handling these things before the match, keeping the players focused, despite all of the off-field drama that was going on today, yesterday, and will likely be going on tomorrow as well. The only other thing that I want to talk about, guys, is we're winning the league. I don't care what anyone else says. We're 8 points clear, halfway through the year. We're winning the league. We are literally halfway through the year. I know that with as cramped as this Premier League schedule, as this Premier League season is, the halfway points and the 2/3 points and all that are a little bit off from what they normally are. We are officially halfway through the Premier League season with this match, and we are going to win the league. It's ours. It is ours for the taking. City have stumbled out the blocks. They are struggling. They are not the City that we are used to, and we are going to take the league from them. And it is a statement to the rest of the Premier League and English football that Arsenal is back. We are no longer sleeping giants. We are back to compete for the world's biggest trophies. All right, lads, ladies, and other False Nine Show listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a really, really fantastic day of football. I have had so much fun all day today. It's been a good one. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed today as much as I have. I hope that you have a lovely rest of your evening. Again, thank you so much for joining in. And if you liked the video, if you liked what we were talking about and want to stay updated on Arsenal content, leave a like, leave a subscribe, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, guys. It makes a big difference for us. So thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you at the next one.